Um, how you doing? My name is Scott Campbell. I wanted to tell you about my story. I'm 31 years old, and we're coming out of Orange County, California. It all started when I was younger. I was born to two wonderful parents, but they broke up when I was 2 years old. They did have one other sister that's full-blooded with me. Every other sister and brother that I have is a half. And so from my mom, I'm the oldest of four with two sisters and one younger brother. And from the grand scheme of things between my mom and my dad, I'm actually the middle child. So I have three brothers and three sisters total between both my parents. So when I was two, my mom and dad broke up. And because my mom did not have money, she had to survive. And she really had to rely on other men to live. And so these men would beat my mom, they would beat me. I remember one time, going to a room with Child Protective Services and me having to drop my pants in front of all these strangers to see if there was any marks and stuff on my body. And it was really embarrassing, Later on, talked to my grandfather. He has reports of things that I forgot about. Maybe I just shut them out of my mind of being duct taped and put in closets and, be given wine coolers and watch me get drunk when I'm younger for entertainment for the adults. And I remember one day when I was, in a hotel, and I was kind of almost like the parent for the kids. And I was in a hotel. There was an adjacent room that connects inside of the hotel, and we were able to get the maid to open the other side of the room and see that they had KFC and steak and all these other things in there. We had a couple top ramens between all four of us, and so we had to struggle to eat and survive. But one day there was a babysitter watching us, and my grandfather rescued us from that because my mom had got arrested for robbery, and so the babysitter said, "Hey, we don't have enough. I have to leave because I can't be here anymore." And so I memorized my grandfather's number. I called him. He came, and the cops came, and they basically took us away. And so I went with my grandparents, and at the time I was actually going to school, and my mom would held me out of school so I could take care of the kids. And so I didn't know how to read, I didn't know how to write, I didn't know how to do anything. And because I was beat so much on my face, my whole left eye, I couldn't really see out of it. In fact, my eyesight was 2400, and I would literally have to write, like this on a page, like that. And so it was pretty tough with what I was doing, and if it wasn't for my grandfather saving me, my eyesight would be gone. I'd either be dead or in jail, and so I'm very thankful for my grandfather taking me out of that. But fast forward, my mother had lied on my grandfather and said that he had molested her, which was a complete lie. Later on, found out, and so we got took and put into foster care. And so me and my younger sister, which were full-blooded, went together to one home, and my youngest sister and my younger brother went to another home. And it was very difficult. I remember being in a living room one time, and my grandmother was able to come into the house and talk to us, but my grandfather wasn't. He had to stay outside and couldn't even talk to us. So I remember sitting in the window crying because I couldn't see him, and it was very difficult for us. And come to find out later, I believe one of my sisters actually got molested by the foster parents inside the home, and it was pretty tough. And so that happened for a year or 2 years, and while we fought through the courts, and then my grandfather, he actually taught me how to read. I got held back in first grade, but because of the life that my grandfather gave me, I was able to skip sixth grade. And when I was 9 years old, we actually had got back with my grandfather, and it was time for us to get adopted. And he said, "Hey, Scott, or he said, hey, Wesley," because my name was Wesley Carroll Williams at the time. He says, "Hey, you get to pick whatever name you want." And I was thinking to myself, like, I had such a bad life that I wanted to have a better one. And I think, okay, if I had a whole nother name, it's like a whole new person, a whole new life. And so I thought, okay, what do I name myself? Well, my grandfather's first name was Henry, his last name was Campbell, and because it's Scottish, all his friends would call him Scotty. And so I named myself Scott Henry Campbell, and that formed who I am today. And fast forward, because I had to steal and I had to lie to kind of get ahead, just like I talked about with that hotel with the KFC and the food, I would steal and lie a lot. And eventually I stopped. My brothers and sisters picked up on what I did because I was the oldest kid, and they followed me. And I stopped, but I was always the culprit. I would always be the one that would get blamed for everything. And my grandfather was 50 years old, had already raised my mom and my aunt, and he's taken in 4 troubled kids, the youngest being 1 and the oldest being 6, which was me at the time. And he had to throw away timeshares, everything, to give us a better life. And so it was difficult on him. But at one point he couldn't handle me anymore. And one day I was in 4th grade. I was getting straight A's at the time, and I just collapsed under the weight. I couldn't be in class anymore. And so he said, you know what? I don't want to go to school. He's like, well, I can't handle it anymore. So he sent me to a group home for 2 years. And in this group home, I was the one of the only white kids there. Very mixed, ethnicities. There was, Hispanic, Black, just all kinds of different. And I was very, very small. And so I actually would get beat up and get into fights every single day. And I really learned how to become independent and my own man, and be able to rely on my skills. And it's funny enough, I had the girls would defend me. They would say, hey, why are you picking on him? They would watch out for me. But that was from 10 years old to 12. And then when I was 12, my grandfather brought me back in to our house, and I went on from there, and I was in special ed at the time, not because I wasn't smart, but because I used to get bullied every day where I was at in the group home. And so I tried to get into special ed just so I can get away from the bullies. And so fast forward to today, when I was 18, my grandfather said, hey, you can go to college and stay here, or you can get a job and stay here. I said, you know what, grandfather, I want to go to the military. My grandfather was a submariner in the United States Navy, and I modeled my name after him, and I also modeled my career. And so I went to the Navy as a submariner. At 18, I came home one day, and I had already told him, hey, I signed up. I'm going, 3 months from now. He's like, what? You didn't even tell me. And I was like, well, that's what I want to do. And I did it because I don't like bullies. I don't like having to depend on other people. I'm my own man. I'm independent, right? And so that kind of carried out. So I joined the military at 18. I was there for 8.5 years. I was on a submarine called the USS Hawaii. I was a mechanic, and later on I became a Navy diver, and also a firefighting instructor. So I taught students, probably about 30-40 students in a room, light it all on fire, and they had to combat it. I would also do something called the wet trainer, where I put students in a 2-story trainer, and all of a sudden this pipe would burst and that pipe would burst, and lights would go off and turn on, and I would have to combat that as well. And I just wanted to raise a family when I was in the military, and I couldn't do that because I was gone 6 months out of the year. So what I did is I said, you know what, I want to get out. I want to be my own boss, and I want to help people. I help people in the military. I want to do it outside of it. And so my friend introduced me to the financial industry, and 5 years later, I have my own office. I'm married to a wonderful woman. I was able to walk away from an engineering job. I was able to retire her from Children's Hospital of Orange County. And today we're building a business together where we can help the American public not get bullied by the system anymore. Where jobs are just over broke. We believe in entrepreneurship and be able to help people come in here and tell their story and give them a platform and a stage to do it. And I don't regret anything that I went through because it forged me into the person that I am today. It was very difficult, but sometimes the strongest steel is forged in the hottest fires. And I went through a very hot fire. And I think all the things that you go through in your life is going to be a testimony to other people. So who better to help somebody that was a drug addict than someone who was a drug addict before? Who better to help someone who's in a financial crisis than someone who was in that same financial crisis before? Who better to help someone in foster care than someone who was in foster care before? So we need people to help other kids have the same opportunity that I had, that my grandfather gave to me. And if it wasn't for these strong men, these strong women who sacrificed time, resources, energy, money, all these things to take these kids in when they didn't have to, I would not have the platform, the ability, the time, and the resources to help people the way that I'm helping now. And we need more foster parents. We need more people to be able to take these kids into their homes and love them and give them a second chance. My grandfather gave me a second chance at life, and because of that, I'm able to give other people second chances in life as well. And so please, become a foster parent if you can. Help out these children, because if my grandfather didn't do it for me, who else will? Thank you. And I really appreciate you taking time to hear my story.